The term laissez-faire refers to the economic policy of letting owners of industry and business set working conditions without interference. The term comes from a French phrase that means let do, and by extension let people do as they please. Laissez-faire stemmed that from French economic philosophers of the 18th century Enlightenment. These philosophers believed that if the government allowed free trade, the flow of commerce in the world market without government regulation, the economy would prosper. Adam Smith, a professor of the University of Glasgow, Scotland, defended the idea of a free economy or free markets in the 1776 book The World of Nations. According to Smith, economic liberty guaranteed economic progress. Smith claimed that government need not interfere in the economy. Economists Thomas Malthus and David Ricardo believe that natural laws govern economic life. Capitalism is an economic system in which money is invested in business ventures with the goal of making a profit. These ideas helped bring about the Industrial Revolution. The rise of the socialism. In contrast to laissez-faire philosophy, which advised governments to leave business alone, other theories believe that government should intervene. These thinkers believe that both people or the government must take action to improve people's lives. The French writer Alexis de Tocqueville gave a warning. Utilitarianism, modifying the ideas of Adam Smith and an English philosopher named Jeremy Bentham, introduced the philosophy of utilitarianism. Other reformers took an even more active approach, shocked by the misery and poverty of the working class. A British factory owner named Robert Owen improved working conditions for his employees. French reformers such as Charles Fourier, Saint-Simon, and others sought to offset the effects of industrialization with a new kind of economic system called socialism. In socialism, the factors of production are owned by the public and operate for the welfare of all. Socialism grew of an optimistic view of human nature, a belief in progress, and a concern for social justice. Socialists argued that the government should actively plan the economy rather than depending on free market capitalism to do the job. They argued that the government control of factories, mines, railroads, and other key industries would abolish poverty and promote equality. They believed would help the workers who were at the mercy of greedy employees.
The writing of a German journalist named Karl Marx introduced the world to a radical type of socialism called Marxism. These were the middle class haves or employers called the bourgeois, and the have-nots of workers called the proletariat. While the wealthy controlled the means of producing goods, the poor performed back-breaking labor under terrible conditions. This situation results in conflict. The Industrial Revolution had enriched the wealthy and impoverished the poor. The two writers predict that the workers would overthrow the owners. Marx believes that a capitalism system which produced the Industrial Revolution would eventually destroy itself in the following way. Factories would drive small artisans out of business, leaving a small number of manufacturers to control all the wealth. Marx believed that the capitalism system which produced the Industrial Revolution would eventually destroy itself in the following way. Factories would drive small artisans out of business, leaving a small number of manufacturers to control all the wealth. The large proletariat would revolt, seize the factories, and mouse from the capitalism and produce what society needs. Workers, sharing in the profits, will bring about economic equality for all the people. Marx called his final phase for communism. Marx described communism as a form of complete socialism in which the means of production, all land, mines, factories, railroads, and business would be owned by the people. Private property would in effect cease to exist. All goods and services would be shared equally. They believe that economic forces alone dominate society. Time has shown, however, that religion, nationalism, ethnic loyalties, and a desire for democratic reforms may be a strong influence on history as economic forces. If factory owners refused these demands, union members could strike or refuse to work. The union movement underwent slow, painful growth in both Great Britain and the United States. For years, the British government denied workers the right to form unions. The government saw unions as a threat to social orders and stability. Indeed, the Convention Act of 1799 and 18 outlawed unions and strikes. Bravely ignoring the threat of jail or jobs loss, factories workers joined unions anyway. Parliament finally repealed the Combination Acts in 1824. After 1825, the British government unhappily tolerated unions.
Reform laws in both Great Britain and the United States. New laws reformed some of the worst abuses of industrialization. The new law made it legal to hire children under 9 years old. Children from the age 9 to 12 could not work more than 8 hours a day. Young people from 13 to 17 could not work more than 12 hours. In 1842, the Mines Act prevented women and children from working underground. Reformers in the United States legislation to protect child workers. In 1904, a group of progressive reformers organized the National Child Labor Committee to end child labor, arguing that child labor lowered wages for all workers. Labor union members joined the reformers. Together, these groups persuaded national and state politicians to ban child labor and set maximum working hours. The Supreme Court in 1919 had objected to federal child labor law. However, it did allow individual states to legally limit the working hours of women and later for men. Of slavery, William Wilberforce, a highly religious man, was a member of parliament who led a fight of abolition. The end of the slave trade and slavery in the British Parliament passed a bill to end the slave trade in British West Indies in 1807. After he retired from Parliament in 1825, Wilberforce continued his fight to free the slaves. Britain finally abolished slavery in its empire in 1833. In 1833, French writer Alexis de Tocqueville had contrasted the brutal conditions in American prisons to the extent liberty of American society. Reforms took on the chains of prison reform, facing the goal of restoring prisons to useful lives.